Christian love ain't love. I'm a Christian, and I know a little bit about this. We Christians claim that when we are hard on non-believers, on unbelievers, that we're just showing our love to them. That's godly love. You can't love a person without showing them what their sin is first, before talking to them about Jesus. They've got to know what they're doing wrong, we say, before you tell them what the solution is. You see, when we're talking to our children, or we're talking to our teenagers who are doing a lot of stuff maybe they shouldn't be doing, and we know that if they show the slightest interest in Jesus, what we do is we get them into the church as quickly as possible, as often as possible. Saturdays, I rather Sunday morning, Sunday night, maybe Wednesday night if possible. We want them to learn, and we want them to see and feel the love of Jesus. Now we will get around to talking to them about what they're being saved from, but get some Jesus into their life. When we're talking about the gay man or the transgender man or the intersex man, our first priority is let them know that they are condemned by God, condemned to hell. Now, the story of Jesus may come along, and love of Jesus may come along, but top priority is don't let them get by without feeling the wrath of God. Now, when we're talking about people who are arrogant pastors, and by arrogance, I mean not humble. Jesus spoke a lot. Jesus didn't speak at all about homosexuality, but Jesus spoke a lot about humility, the importance of humility, the sin of pride. If you're not humble, people will tend to say, well, you say I'm not humble, but I'm just confident. That's what you're saying. No, when the Bible says you're not humble, and God hates that, God hates you. When the Bible says humbleness and pride, it's talking about what you are if you have no humility. You know the difference between pride and arrogance and humility. If you're not humble, you're being arrogant. A pastor who is hammering on the pulpit, preaching condemnation to the gay man, but love to the teenager, stomping the ground, pounding his fist, driving people out of his church. That's not being humble. That's not humility. That's arrogance. That's pride. Now, why do I even bring pride into this? Because Proverbs 16:5 says that love the sinner, hate the sin is not the whole story. We Christians like to say love the sinner, hate the sin. We're strong about that. We use that when we're talking about gay people, when we're arrogantly talking about gay people. Proverbs 16:5, in any version just about, says God sees the arrogant man as an abomination. He doesn't say he sees the sin as an abomination, arrogance as an abomination. No, he sees the arrogant man. Everybody who is arrogant, he is disgusted by. The Good News Translation says God hates everybody who is arrogant. Hates everybody who is arrogant. Not hates sin. He does hate sin, certainly. But he hates, in this case of arrogance, he hates the arrogant man. And when we're leading our children to Jesus, we want to get them in front of Jesus as quickly as possible. When we're leading gay people to Jesus, we won't allow them into our church generally, and we want to get the condemnation of God in their mind as quickly as possible. When we're leading a humble man, or rather, when we're leading an arrogant man to Jesus, an arrogant pastor, an arrogant president, should I say, we don't do anything. We think they're already saved. Got no problem with that. I mean, yeah, God hates arrogant men, but do we hate arrogant men? No. In fact, we're happy for them. We encourage them by voting for them. And we go to their church and we swell the congregations of the arrogant pastor, who God hates, according to Proverbs 16:5. And we love our children, and we say that we're loving a homosexual, but the homosexual comes away from every conversation with a Christian with a black eye. Let me tell you something. If you claim that you're loving your wife, but she's got a black eye from your fist, son, that ain't love. You haven't earned praise. You've earned ass whooping, is what you've earned. I've struggled with being called a Christian, with calling myself a Christian, because I'm associated with what these hateful evangelicals are doing. You know, but I insist. I am a Christian. I do follow Christ. You know what? I don't call them Christians anymore. I don't call them Christians. They're evangelicals, yes. And I'm perfectly fine with them being evangelicals. And I'm perfectly fine with me and with y'all who follow Jesus, want to follow Jesus, do follow Jesus. I'm perfectly fine with you being Christians. But the next hateful guy that comes down the road bragging about beating up on the gay people, bragging about beating up on the transgender people, calling the intersex people and actually transgender people non-existent. He doesn't know intersex people don't fall into the man or a female category, so we just won't talk about them. That ain't Christianity. That ain't love. That's evangelicalism. But like I said, you ain't earned a blessing from Jesus. You've not earned praise from anybody. You've earned ass whooping.